What shall I do for microphone? Turn it off?
I think you
Turn it
don't
off?
choose and turn off. Just turn off and don't choose anything. We can out
Leave,
the audio.
leave computer audio, that one?
I think maybe just mute it first. Just
Systems. Okay, can you, Eric, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Good enough? Loud enough? 听得到吗？听清楚，听得到。 Asa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage, homage to the blessed noble and perfectly enlightened one. Namo sarango suchedoye lahadi samya sambuddhoshe.无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. Now we see it, hear it, and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 那师父上人，各位师兄，大家阿弥陀佛。Venerable Master, Dhamma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture. We'd like to acknowledge country, respectfully acknowledge the Congolese people, acknowledge the language, regions, traditional storytellers, and custodians of that where the monastery is located. Their respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and all First Nations people, sovereigns of those notice. Okay, we're gonna just let that be there. I think let's see, this is lecture number 1 in our Liang Bao Chun. It is Saturday, April the 12th, here in the Gold Coast, Queensland. All of you who have joined from, there's 30 of us online, funny the way. Let's see where we're from. Let's see, wow, 6个David is online, listening in. Florence is listening in. Ian is listening in. Good. Tracy is listening in. Wow, this is our varsity team. Good. We have 湖北、北京、四川，还有哪里？哈尔滨、北京、安徽、苏州、四川，哪里？哈尔滨。Let's see here. We have 浙江南海，北京。马来西亚，哇，一个马来西亚，哪里去？还有什么地方？哈尔滨，啊，Let's see here，还有浙江、南京，let's see here，洛阳，let's see here，山东，一个台湾人都没有，哎呀，落后了，大家要发心，台湾人就在这边，对不对？1、2、3，对对。Okay, good. So welcome everybody. Now, this is what I'm going to suggest is because this is this is the first night of our Liang's lectures. I'm going to lecture for 1 hour. Our translator, you picking up here, going to lecture for 1 hour every night. And to save time, I think we don't have to Qing Fa. Let's Qing Fa the first night, and then I'll just start. I'll come and everybody they'll save some time. Now, okay, that's and you notice I didn't translate our acknowledgement of country. I have a proposal that I would like all of you, both online and present here in person, to help me with. And here's the story. I was in Singapore last year and doing a Yaoshi Week. And a gentleman came up to me the first night, and he was very well dressed. He obviously was a person with some means, somebody who was very sincere. And he said, he was very direct. He said, Dharma Master, he said, we need help here in Singapore because why? He said, I and many of my friends are educated in English stream. We want to be Buddhists, but we do not have a door to enter because Chinese Buddhism, in Singapore, is controlled by Chinese-speaking monks. And all the Dharma that they do is very traditional. We come to you because we like the fact that you speak English and your teacher modernized the Dharma. do you have some way for us to learn Buddhism using English? He said, for modern minds. And I was like, actually, yes and no. Yes, because everything I do with my life for the last 50 years has been about learning as much Dharma as I can as an American through Chinese language. I've studied Chinese language now since I was 14 years old. That was a long time ago, 60 years. I've studied, when we first started, it was 中国话, 中国话. At that time, it wasn't 普通话, and it wasn't 国语, it was 中国话. So I've studied 中国话 for 61 years. And yet, it's just a deep ocean, and every day I learn more Chinese, and I apply every bit of that to understanding the Dharma from the Chinese tradition so that I can represent it for people who look like me, blue eyes, for Westerners. Because most of the time, when I say that I have one, two, three, four other Sangha members here, four Vichunis here, who are fully ordained and sure lineage, I want them to understand that most of the time when I speak Dharma, outside of sutra lectures, I'm speaking to non-Buddhists. When I talk in the university, when I go out to interfaith, when I go out to friends and music and all, they are not Buddhists. So the Buddhism that I represent has to be very basic and clear. So the gentleman asked me that question, and I thought, I said yes and no. Yes, because that's what I'm doing. I am giving my life to interpreting Buddhism for English speakers or modern minds. But no, I don't have any materials for you. How sad, right? To this day, if you go to our library here at Gold Coast Dharma, very nice library. Most of our books that were published are here, but there is not one text. There is no beginning primer that says, you want to learn Dharma? Start here. Are you a beginner? Start here. Are you intermediate? Start here. Are you advanced? Let's deepen your knowledge here. There's a book called Introduction to Buddhism. It's just sutra quotes. It doesn't speak to people. It's only sutra quotes. We have Jing Chuan. Jing Chuan Shi has written Welcome to the Monastery. But that's for young people, and it's welcome. It's funny, but it doesn't take you the next step. Doug Powers, my colleague from Berkeley, has written what's Doug's book? It's a thin kind of primer, and it's good. It's just thick, right? We don't have something that says 84000法门，哪一个对我最对机的法师？我应该修哪一个对我好法师？84000呢？从哪里下手？Doesn't exist, right? 84,000 Dharma methods. Which one is the best one for me? Which one should I buy to get the most maximum advantage, right? People all have that question. That's the question I get asked more than any other. So many practices, Basher. Where do I start? So, let's write that book. Why don't we answer the layman in Singapore with, why don't we put something in his hands that he can say, oh, this is comprehensive, understandable, systematic, and fun to read, enjoyable, not dry. Okay? So that's what I hope we can do this week. I hope we can put together, got my outline here, multiple pages of how to start, how to get this together. And I was hoping, that's why I'm taping myself, so that we can briefly, in our discussion these nights, 1 hour for 5 minutes, 6 nights, we can get a start. Okay, let me read you what I wrote. Okay, here's when I thought about. Oh, and by the way, Sam, are we doing Q&A? Should we do? Okay. So I want to tell everybody online, there are now 40 of us. Oh, so 没有声音。好了, okay, good. I want to tell everybody that if you have a question, please type it in to Zoom. And our hardworking recording secretaries will translate it and pass it on to me. And I'll leave like 20 minutes at the end. Okay? All right. That's also, and folks here too, if you have questions. Okay, here's what I wrote. See if I've covered it, if it makes sense to you. Introducing Mahayana, 介绍和 primer on Mahayana practices. 大乘佛法修行路. That's the title. Okay? A Singaporean layman requested instructions on Mahayana practices. He said, ethnic Chinese laity in Singapore, those who speak no Chinese but were educated in English stream schools, cannot access the teachings of the Mahayana because the Chinese language speaking Sangha controls the practices, the monasteries, and gateways to the Dharma. Those monks and nuns tend to be very traditional in their Dharma. As a result, English-speaking Chinese Buddhists find themselves out in the cold, having no approachable or even acceptable Mahayana teachings. These people tend to be well-educated, conversant with media trends. They know, they all have iPhones or PCs. They're conversant with media. They are big city people, cosmopolitan. They are open to innovations in teaching methods. I felt sympathetic with his request. I was moved to provide the materials he requested. We, disciples of Master Shen Fa, can produce a textbook of practices for laity. Okay? So, you think? Yes? Yes? Thumbs up? 加油！不要！加油！不要！加油！So, okay, good. So if you say no, I don't care, we're going to do it anyway. 加油! Okay. So, I had spoken to, actually to Jin Chenshi, Jin Cangshi, and I floated this idea before and said we actually need to get a team. And I'm hoping that even if when Jin Cangshi is back in Wangfacheng, I am back in Wangfacheng, stay connected to get this done. I think if we apply ourselves and brainstorm, we can find, we can do it pretty quickly. It doesn't have to be a major backbreaking job. Probably have it done in 6 months if we try. So, how do we begin? One way to begin would be okay, this is what I just wrote. One way to begin. I think we should design it with beginners, intermediate, and advanced cultivators. Color codes. If something is green, it's for beginners. If something is blue, it's for intermediate. We could have color codes, maybe. One way to do it would be to start with the 4 great bodhisattvas, Siddha introduce Guanyin, Dizang, Wenshu, Puxian as a start. Suggestion, something like this. We could say Guanyin Pusa is compassion. So right away, we say, who is Guanyin Pusa? What is compassion? we'd have to explain, we could say Guanyin Pusa is, of course, compassion is Wu Yuan Datsi Tongti Dabei, right? We can explain what that is. Wu Yuan Datsi, kindness even for those with whom you don't have a connection. That's real kindness. Compassion is the same body. Tongti Dabe, we share the same body with kookaburras and huntsman spiders. Even, believe it or not, Donald Trump. It's hard to believe, I know. But so then we can go into the practices. 6-syllable mantra. 6-字大明咒. 6-syllable mantra. We could explain the Dabe Zhou. And so there, wow, here we have mantras using Guanyin to introduce Toloni Zhou Zhenyan. We have repentance practice, Dabe Chan. Okay, there is, that's the first chance to introduce repentance. And then Shun Sheng Joku, her basic practice. If you recite her name, Namo Guanxin Pusa, she responds. So there, and then we could do, we could mention the 42 hands, but that tends to be, that's advanced. So let's see, you could do 1,000 hands. Why 1,000 hands? There's a lot for Guanyin. Okay, so that's a start, right? This is one suggestion. Next, Dizang Pusa. What is it? Vows. Da Yuan. What is it about vows that's so important in the Mahayana? Oh, Pusa, Heng, Yuan, vows, practices. Earth-store could be the first one direct to it. Then, because it's vows, we could say, oh, you know who else? Amitabha has 48. Pushen Pusa has 10, etc. So we can talk about, these are all about vows. So then we can, so that's Earth-store. Number 3, say, here's Manjushri Bodhisattva. What is he? Da Zhi, wisdom. So wisdom is the goal of the Bodhisattva, along with compassion. And this is a chance to talk about wisdom. And we introduce it just enough, a couple paragraphs to give people a feeling of it. There are many kinds of wisdom. There's the Ba Shi Bian Cheng Si Zhi, right? There's Wenzi Boro, Guanjiao Boro, Shixiang Boro, 3 different kinds. And then if we're talking about wisdom, here's where we talk about afflictions. So, and one question would be, where do we begin? Where do we introduce the Bodhi resolve? That's, I don't know exactly where that would go, but that's super, super important for the Mahayana. So then we say, oh, next is Pushen Pusa. Pushen Pusa is Da Heng. So here's, this is where we get all the lists. We've got the Yi Cheng, we've got the Er Di, we've got the San Gui Yi, we've got 那个三毒, we got the 四地法, we got the 五根五力, we got the 六波罗蜜, we got the 七种菩提分, you know, all the lists. This is where we introduce, in the Mahayana, 八万四千法门, look at Pushen Pusa. And Pushen Pusa is where we begin sutras. You introduce 大乘经书, because, you know, we got the lotus, we've got the avatamsaka, we've got the shurangama, etc., right? So here's where, oh, 有次第, 有次序, right? Step by step by step. Okay, that is one way we could begin, using the 4 great bodhisattvas. 也可以, all right? Now, if we don't do it that way, we can start by saying, wow, Han Chuan Fo Jiao Yo Wu Zong. When I first heard Shifu explain these, I kind of thought all Buddhists looked at it this way. In fact, it's only us. We have, right, Chan Zong, Qingdu Zong, we have Mi Zong, Lü Zong, Jiao Zong, all these different that match up with yoga. So Qingdu Zong is Bhakti Yoga. Chanzong is Raja Yoga. The Jiaozong is Jnana Yoga, knowledge. The Karma Yoga is Lü Zong, etc. So we can do it, of course, if we do it, we can talk about the Chanzong, Jingdu Zong, we can talk about Vinaya, secrets or esoteric, secret. There we go. And then teachings. So that's another way. There's a whole chapter, whole big chapter on the 5 schools. Which one is best? You think about it. Today, what did we do? Holding precepts with everything we do. Did you meditate today? Chanzong. Did you recite the Buddha's name? Pure Land. Did you recite a mantra? Secret school. Are you listening to sutras? All day, every day, we do it. We really do. Okay, here's an item that is really important. The way Shifu gave us the relationship to Sangha is really different from the way I experience when I go to Taiwan or to Malaysia or Hong Kong. The Sangha tends to be like a lot of rules, 很多规矩, you know, often 高高在上, often very distant, or the opposite, too relaxed, 没有规矩, 没有唯一, 很随便, also not right. So a very important part of the Mahayana that I experienced from Shifu's Dharma is, what is the role of Chujazhong? What's the role of the Sangha? So how do we make offerings to the Sangha that is Ru Fa? How do we understand Fu Tian Seng? Right? This is really important. What does it mean? What are blessings? 什么叫福报？什么叫福气？种福 What is that? That's a whole idea. The Theravada, the Thai tradition, pretty much that's what lay people do, is they live to protect and support the Sangha. And I've heard Theravada monks say to me, Fasher, I get really tired of being a merit machine. It's like the lay people look at me and they go, stand still, Fasher, I want to give you something. Okay, it's like just like a machine. And the lay people give him something and they get their life improves. That's really the way they see it. So how do we see it? How do we understand Fu Tian Seng? What is now for tonight? There are 5 Chujaren here right now. Everyone else is a layperson. What is the role of a Dharma protector? Right? What is the role of a Dharma protector? Protector. There we go. This is really important to explain because the Sangha depends on the laity. We depend on a wholesome understanding of what we do. For example, today I was just telling Inyong that in order to do today, 4 men had to drive a golf cart up to my house and pick me up 4 times today. Like, without that, I would have gotten really tired carrying all this stuff down the mountain, right? But so the lay people have a big job in keeping the Sangha alive. What is that job? How does Shifu explain it to us? So so the question is, when you say, oh, of course, we respect Chujazhong, what is that respect based on? Is it based on do you really understand what it means to Chujia? So if you leave home in the Mahayana, Hanshuan Tuojiao, you give up what? You give up, if you're a man, a bhikshu, you give up your career, you give up the warm connection with spouse, partner, parents, children. You give up possessions. You don't have your own car. You don't even have your own golf cart. You give up your golf clubs. You know, you don't give up your guitars. You couldn't do that, right? You don't give up your camp. So, but you give up all the things that men define themselves by. You give up your hobbies. You give up your standing in the community. You let all that go, and you give up comfort. You don't go home to, you know, open the refrigerator and drink a cold beer. Can't do that as a left home person. So it's like, why? Why do you do that? Well, what is the lay person's relationship to the person who can do that? For a nun to leave home, oh my goodness, look at what she gives up to not have, to know that you're not going to have, you know, children looking after you, grandchildren. You could, but you set them aside. That's not your priority. That's your priority is the Dharma in front of you. And Shifu gives, I should say this, this is really, this is important. Master Hua's creation of the Bhikshuni Sangha is very different from the position of the Bhikshuni Sangha in Asia. That's why I think there are so many nuns who leave home with Master Hua in Shifu's Dharma. I mean, 5 times more than men, right? Shifu's empowering of bhikshunis, of women, to cultivate the way, I think the vision of leaving home to Liao Sheng Tuosi, to put an end to birth and death, is very much alive in the Bhikshuni Sangha. And I don't necessarily see that in other places. Taiwan's different. Taiwan has strong Bhikshunis, but there are women who cannot leave home in the Tibetan tradition, who can't leave home in the Korean sort of. Japanese Buddhism is really almost gone. So when they see Shifu's Bhikshuni Sangha, it's light. They light up because here is a way to be active in the Dharma, to cultivate the actual practices that lead to liberation from suffering. You know, Shifu keeps that alive for women. How powerful is that? So the job, this is a big, big part of our book, which is relationship with the Sangha in the 21st century. So that's one. Okay, here is a big topic. 什么叫皈依？什么叫受戒？ Right? Refuge and precepts. This is a big one. In the Pali tradition, you know, if you take part in a Thai event with Bante so and so, right? What do? They go Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dharmam Saranam Gacchami, Samgam Saranam Gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham Saranam Gacchami, right? You take the refuges all together, you chant it, and that's it. The chanting of it is it. And you do it before a fa hui, you do it before a talk, you do it easily. The Mahayana does it really differently. It's like you prepare, you get a fa ming, right? You bao ming, you get a Dharma name, you kneel. It's Shifu's fa. I've heard many different formulas for Gui Yi, and Shifu's is among the longest and the most formal. I have to say, many times I sat beside Shifu when he did Sangui Wujie all over the world where he traveled. I was the translator many times. And you know that Shifu didn't praise his monks and nuns. He never, he didn't He didn't tell you you were good at this. He was always, you have to improve, right? Shifu said, you do the refuge ceremony. Okay, he said to me. He says, your refuge ceremony is all right. At the very end, when he had no more qi, we were at Fajie Shengcheng in Sacramento, city of the Dharma realm. And Shifu said, Ni ti wo nian ba. So I did it. And at the end, he said, that's okay, he said. You know what else Shifu praised me for? I heard one other bit of praise for Shifu, from Shifu. You know what it was? Samadhi, wisdom. He said, you sing pretty. He said, you have a nice voice. He said, ah, 糟糕. Oh, man. Okay. So, what are precepts? So, look at this. 5 precepts, the 8 precepts, the lay bodhisattva precepts, right? Those are for lay people. Then the 10, and then the complete. This is really something that we can learn about and think ahead. Many of you here have taken the 5, the 8, and the lay, you know. For lay people, that's a lot of progress along the path. But if we don't explain it, who knows? Only people who have come around already. So we have to explain these things for people to understand. Okay, this one is super, super important. This one is, I think, so many people don't know about this one, which is the emphasis on 道德. Shifu this is what we heard most at Gold Mountain Monastery was 你们习气毛病一定要改，痛改前非，佛是万德备, he would say. The Buddha is, you have to change your bad habits and faults. The Buddha is replete with 10,000 virtues. So, you know, it's like, Shifu, what is that? I want to get enlightened. He would say, 你们不懂, you know. So look at virtue is so this is I think this is the phrase that we want to key on. It's this one. 人道尽佛道成. That's the one. And there's many different translations of it, but it's something like when you walk the path of humanity to its very end, when you become the best possible person, when the path of Ren is complete, that's Buddhahood. So a Buddha is a completed human. That's the way to begin. And this, maybe if I had to pick one thing to put in front of the book, maybe it would be this single one, because this is so important. When we get to this idea, 道德, we can talk about 因果. We can talk, let's see, the higher precept should be here. We can talk about 十善十恶 right here. 10 goods and 10 evil deeds. Here's where we talk about filiality. We could also, let's see, I guess diet would have to be up here with compassion. Maybe. Let's see. Plant-based diet. That should be up there. Okay. So, 人道尽佛道成. I think this one is really, really important. Okay, then what? What about 密宗? Reciting mantras, how to use common sense regarding mantras. Particularly from China, I have to say, a lot from Dongbei and a lot from Shandong, people want to know about mantras because there's a sense that Shifu really understood the power of mantras and people want it. They think it's power. And People will say, oh, Fasher, I recite the mantra, I recite the Sharanga mantra 5 times a day. Am I killing demons, Fasher? If not, how do I kill demons? And there's this idea that if you recite a mantra, basically you're a gunfighter and you can go out shooting at demons. So we need common sense about what are mantras, what are they, and how to use them. So what are they and how to use them? Okay. I think our book should include Shifu's changes in Buddhist practice. For example, the idea that sutras, we can understand the Buddha's voice directly. We don't have to go through commentaries. That's a big, big, big difference. Okay. There are a lot of monks and nuns and lay people who think that they've heard that only the monks in the Tang Dynasty understood the sutras correctly. So we have to study them, not the sutras. So as a result, you never hear the Buddha's voice. Shifu wanted us to hear the Buddha's voice, right? You can hear him directly. We have enough wisdom. He said, you need the Buddhas, you need the sutras every day. Okay, another one. 莫名其妙的规矩, right? Strange rules. Did you all know 你讲经讲错一句会下地狱吗？你们怕不怕? Right? When you're explaining sutras, you say a single word wrong, you fall in the hells. We had a woman at Berkeley, I told you this one before, when she said, when you put incense in the censer, be really, really careful, because if the ash falls outside the censer, your family's going to split up. The Buddha's going to punish you. And all of these 莫名其妙的规矩 turns the Buddha into this cruel, hurtful, vengeful person. And this is nonsense, but people, 人云亦云, if you don't have somebody who sets it straight, it just gets passed on. Oh, this is true, right? 莫名其妙的规矩. We have to talk about those. They're called negative, harmful taboos. And there's always somebody who's there to get you. There's always harm threatened, right? Oh, and we have teachers at the schools who tell their students, 你不听话,你会下地狱, right? That kind of thing, using the Dharma as punishment. We had a nun at one point in the schools at CTDB. When the girls at the school misbehaved, how did she punish them? You go bow to the Buddha. So the girl understood that bowing to the Buddha was punishment. Did she bow to the Buddha when she graduated from school? Never, never. Because it was clear that that was for bad people. So you have to, so Shifu reformed these things. When Shifu heard about that, he nearly cried and he wept, right? So, okay, so there we are. Another way, if we want, we can talk about 四大枝叶 or 六大宗旨. That's another doorway. We could use that in the book as a entry, right? Those are options. How did Shifu present the Dharma? What was his major teaching? 六大宗旨. We could have a section that allows questions. The number 2 most often question I get is, 法师为什么不吃葱蒜呢? 法师能不能吃鸡蛋吗? I hear these questions all the time, right? Now, the other day, I was in a car with a layman, and he said, I was with the Dharma master listening to her explanation. How do I know when I am being sincere? He said. He's really good question, right? He said, I want to be sincere. I saw Jin Yong Shi when we were Song Jing. Jin Yong Shi knelt the whole time on his knees. I didn't do it. I was sitting or standing, and I thought, wow, that's Chengxin. Am I supposed to do that? And that's a really good question. I explained that Cheng is anjiao li, anjiao fen. You cultivate according to your strength, according to your role. And I explained the Cheng zi here, right? You accomplish your words. Yan jiu cheng le. What did you say you're going to do? What is your intention? State it, and it can be different as you mature in the Dharma. Just do what you can. Anjiao li, anjiao fen. According to your strength, according to your role. Jin Yongshi is a senior bhikshu. For him to kneel, he feels like 应该的, right? Is that you? Maybe not. Maybe you don't. That's different, right? So this layman really wanted to know, what is compassion? He said, you hear people say, Changxin, you hear people say, 慈悲, 慈悲. He said, when is 慈悲 more than just words? I really want to know. Okay, these are good questions that we could have in the book. Okay, that's it. That's the outline so far. Okay, what do you all think? Is this, right this minute, what else would you add to our list to make this an even better book for the Singaporean layman who said, 法师, we English language Buddhists don't have anything systematic to study, so we know how to cultivate. What else would you add here? Anybody got some help for me? They're all saying 要什么? Books. Oh, okay. 那我们就都要，我们就举手. I want it. Good. Okay. So what I suggested was various structure. One was use the four bodhisattvas. 观音大慈, 地藏大愿, 文殊大智, 普贤大亨. That's one. There's also the Wuzong. There's also various topics. We could use here Samantabhadra's 10 practices, Pushen Pusa Shridayan, right? That's a really good way to start. Here we go. Okay, so a lot of choices, right? What we have to talk about 皈依, 三皈五戒, have to talk about all the different 戒品, 道德, 福报, 福气, 六大宗旨, 四大日业, etc. Okay, Sam, you got any questions? Same document? Okay, coming up here. Okay, so this is tonight's, I just present the idea. I would like folks, please, to tomorrow, think it over. Tomorrow, I thought we could start discussing. Pick out, let's see here, Google Drive. Pick out something like 皈依, or start somewhere. But if you all can think these, I presented my idea to you. I would really like your feedback. In fact, I need your feedback for how to proceed. Okay. After doing something wrong, how can you truly develop a heart of repentance? I always fail to genuinely feel repentant. OK， 法师吉祥，做了错事，如何真正的生出忏悔心？我总是没有生出真正的忏悔心。OK，己所不欲，勿施于人。Don't do to others what you don't want done to you. So in English, we say, put yourself in the other person's shoes. right？穿上对象的鞋子，然后走1个英里，走1个公里，然后怎么样？You know, so put on the other person's shoes and walk a mile and see how you feel. What does it feel like? So the person says, I don't feel repentant. It's because you can't visualize yourself experiencing pain or suffering. If I was 11 years old, and for my birthday, I got a slingshot. And this was a real weapon slingshot. It was thick, heavy wood with a handle with a grip on it. And the rubber bands, the sling part was really strong, thick rubber. And I got not little tiny BBs, I got ball bearings, right? These were what, eighth inch ball bearings, shiny steel, to shoot them with. So when you pulled the slingshot back like this, it was really strong. And I let it go, and it would shoot the steel ball bearing through a window. I could embed it in a board. It could go stick into a board and all. So I was really feeling powerful with my slingshot. And there were blue jays. Blue jays, we don't have them in Australia. They're bright blue, and they're large and super smart, intelligent, and they hold grudges. My cat, I had a cat. I was 11 years old. We had a cat at home, and the cat had jumped on a baby blue jay and actually killed it. The blue jays never forgot, and they would put one blue jay up on a tree in front of the front door, one blue jay on a tree in front of the back door. Every time my cat came out to use the bathroom, the birds would swoop on her. So the cat stayed inside with her legs crossed like this because she couldn't go out. Because every time she did, 3 blue jays would come down and peck, right? Well, guess what I did? I took my slingshot out, and I could see the blue jay. I saw their nest, and I pulled it back, and I went, and I hit the bird, and the bird went, landed dead. And I watched it. I went over and I looked at it, and the bird shook itself. It went like that and died. And I saw the light go out. This had been this beautiful, colorful, smart bird that was paying my cat back for having killed its baby. And I had killed the bird, and I saw it shake, and I felt it in my heart. It was so clear that I had taken the life out of that bird. I put my slingshot in the drawer and never touched it again. And I felt sad. I really felt this. That was a mistake. I did that. I wanted the bird to live, and the bird wasn't going to live anymore. So, can I tell you how to feel repentant? No, I can tell you how I felt repentant. And I to this day, I mean, as I tell you the story, obviously I can still see that bird. And the other blue jays, I was the enemy. I was number one. I replaced the cat as their enemy after that. They didn't let me get out of the house without screaming. So put yourself in the shoes of the other person. Would you like that to happen to you or your children or your partner or your cat or your dog? If so, you got a cold heart. If not, then think 要己所不欲，我自己不要发生在我身上，所以呢，不要令其他人受这个祸，受这个困难。Right? If you don't want it done to you, don't do it to someone else. Because why? Doing it to one does it to everyone. We're connected. We are completely connected. Okay. Thank you. After following your example of eating food without oil and salt, I feel my greed for food is diminished. My attachment to desires has been reduced. However, I have one big flaw, oversleeping. Today, instead of attending the morning session of the illustrated biography, I was sleeping. When the alarm rang, I wanted to sleep more and ended up sleeping until noon. How can I address the problem of oversleeping and procrastination? Okay. Okay. 就说我效法你吃不带油盐的东西，感觉贪吃的毛病去掉了，不过觉得懒惰啊，过分过头睡。My eating food without oil and salt was only for a number of months. I was trying to overcome desire for flavor, but in the process, I placed a burden upon lay people who wanted to please me because I said I wasn't eating oil and salt. But my companion, Marty, ate oil and salt food with seasoning. This is an extreme, and I don't recommend it. I only did that for a few months. So now, if you are cooking for yourself, then you can eat anything you want. And if you can really do without yoyan, then that's hard to do. But 不要表意嫌弃, you know, don't do it so you're a better cultivator than everybody else. By saying, I get rid of all seasoning and then my greed is reduced, that's like smothering a fire, but the ashes, the embers are still there. You want to be able, if you can eat without harm, do, if you can eat without killing, already good enough. Already good enough. You don't have to go to the extreme. I went to an extreme and people were really, if I said to the nuns today, hey, 你们以后不要给我油盐的菜, they would go, oh, okay, 法师, we will do it. We are not happy. What a lot of trouble, right? So, can you eat normally and reduce desire? That's Kung Fu. All right, 睡觉. 睡觉 too much, then here's what you do. Why are you sleeping so much? Why is life so uninteresting for you? The governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, who failed to be elected vice president of America last time, said, I'll sleep when I'm dead. He said, now we've got to work hard, he said. So here's what I would do. Find a reason to stay up. Find a reason to get up. Help other people. When you're sleeping past enough to refresh your body, you're not helping anybody. It's selfish. Find something that gets you out of bed. The best thing I can think of is helping people. Find something that where people really need you, right? That'll get you out of bed. I have had times when I needed more sleep than others. If you need more sleep, sleep longer. Go to bed earlier. I'd like to know how many hours you spend with your cell phone. How many hours do you spend watching your screen? If you can swap out, reduce the hours on your phone and sleep those hours, then you can get up in time. Another method, get 2 alarm clocks. If the first one didn't wake you up, use 2. Okay, how can I train myself not to get angry? Look at desire. Anger is the second step. Why are you angry so much? It's because you haven't really come to grips with desire. Anger is frustrated desire. So what do they say? 少欲知足，知足常乐，能忍则安. If you can reduce your desires and be content, then there's no need to be angry, right? So what are we greedy for? We're greedy for wealth, we're greedy for sex, greedy for fame, greedy for food or comfort. Then when we don't get those, or somebody gets them and we don't think they should, of course it's anger. So anger is the second step. What you do is say to yourself, if I got that thing, would I be happy? If you have enough clarity to ask that question, then you have a choice. And the answer is almost always no. Because why? Desire is like a fire, it just consumes. Desire is never satisfied. You can never have enough. So Buddhist cultivators go right at desire and say, if I got it, then what? What do they say? It's like 求不得苦, right? You don't get it, and that's suffering. Do you know what is a real, true 苦? Is 求而得苦. You get it, and you're not happy. That's real suffering, right? 你得到了，不过不满足，因为欲念没有满足的时候, it's like a fire. Fire consumes everything. So look at the desire. Your anger will reduce. Okay? You can practice patience. 忍耐,忍耐,需要忍耐,切莫生气,说不合. Right? Patience, patience. Gotta have patience. Don't get angry. 说不合. All right. Time's up. Time's up. Hour is up. See you again tomorrow night. We will be here working with the first of our primer for not just Singapore. When I was explaining this to somebody the other day, they said, 不但 Singapore, 中国也没有这个汉传佛教修行入门如何开始啊? So they say there isn't one. There is the Putidao Siddhi Guanglong, but that's Tibetan. We want one suited for modern Hanchuan Fujiao. All righty. Let's see here. Dedication of merit. Are we ready? Thank you all for joining tonight. We appreciate it. There's 55 of us online. Keep those questions coming in. Sam will be translating them and making them available for me. Okay, can you make a wish? Send it out. People online won't hear the guitar because it's the way the microphone is set up. But you already know it. You can sing along anyway, right? May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Okay, we can bow to the Buddhas right from where you're sitting. Don't need to get up. Okay, I don't have a yin qing. Ready? Half bow, wen xun, zai wen xun, san wen xun. Okay, hold on, hold on. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Okay, thanks for joining everybody. See you again tomorrow night. Amitofo.